Welcome to Kathryn Raaker's World. Innovation, culture, adventure, fashion and health, artists, destinations, traditions. This is Kathryn Raaker's World.
Hi, this is Kathryn Raaker of Kathryn Raaker's World. Today's guest is one of my experts. He is an author, a commentator, a television personality, a radio personality, and a political commentarian. And I hope I said that right. Good morning, Dan. How are you today?
Good morning, Kathryn. Thank you for having me on.
There's so many things on your list. I could be here for an hour on it, okay?
And let's not forget Songs and Stories for Soldiers.
Oh, I forgot Songs and Stories for Soldiers, your foundation.
Right.
And it really helps veterans and their families.
Yes.
And all of it, all the money that is given goes right to the wonderful recorders.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So, yes. But today, you know, we're in a situation here, Dan, where actually we've never seen an election like this. And so it's really important, Dan, to be able to explain. And the title of your commentary is Don't Back the Truck into the White House. I love the title.
Thank you.
Because actually, I can just see, I think they think if it doesn't go their way, they're going to have to go into, drag him out. And I don't think that's going to happen. Dan, you know, one of the things that I think people don't understand is why we are recounting this election and why there's so many, we're seeing so many errors in the software and everything else. And then people don't understand how this is all going to end. And is there any chance of President Trump winning? I mean, they just don't get it. And did you see the article this morning that Fox apologized for calling it? I came out this morning thinking, gee whiz, whatever. So
a day late and a dollar short.
Yeah, a day late and a dollar short. And I'm seeing that a lot of commentators aren't calling Joe Biden the president-elect anymore because it's not true, because
That's
all
true.
counts isn't. So let's start with how does this whole thing, our Constitution and the Bill of Rights, demonstrating what the forefathers thought with the Constitution about elections and how the process works. So let's just talk about that.
Okay, so thank you again for having me on. The issue that is really clouded by all of the spin meisters on the various networks is really quite simple. The issue is that the Constitution under Article 2 talks about presidential elections, and it says that the state legislatures are the organization that sets the voting rules. This is very important, Kathryn. It's the state legislatures who set the rules, not the election board.
Right.
So that the challenge, the simplest challenge is what the Trump administration is trying to do, is to say to the courts, the state election commission has no power to set the rules of the election. That resides solely with the state legislature. And so the Trump campaign position will be any state where the state legislature did not amend the voting rules and the election commission decided to change the rules, those elections must go back to what was on the books as the law passed by the state legislature. So all the mail-in ballots, all that stuff, none of it which was approved by the state legislature is null and void. So if you appeal the election to the Supreme Court, I believe that the message from Trump's attorneys to the 9 justices of the Supreme Court says the Constitution clearly gives to the state legislature to make the right to make changes into the election rules. And so any state where the legislature did not approve the new rules for the election, those ballots under that process have to be thrown out. So we have 9 members on the Supreme Court. It's extremely clear, Kathryn, that Article 2 governs what's going on here. And so the decision for the judges should be pretty easy. It should be a 9-0 vote of requiring the states to follow the jurisdictions of the state legislature who were responsible. For example, Kathryn, the Supreme Court of the state of Pennsylvania on Thursday revoked the right of the Secretary of State 2 days before the election to change the rules. They said it was unconstitutional, and that she wanted to extend even more time to count ballots and for ballots to come in. And the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania said no, wasn't approved by the state legislature. So the decision for the courts should be pretty easy, that we got to go back and we have to eliminate all of the ballots that were sent in or brought in or dropped off under the new rules, because if the state legislature hadn't changed the rules, those are invalid votes, period. That's not a hard decision. Now, as to what's going on, expect that the media will talk about how absurd it is that the president would appeal to the courts to enforce the law, and that we could possibly have a situation where a move in several states would bring Mr. Biden below 270, but not bring President Trump necessarily up to 270. So we would not have a clear electoral college winner at 270. And they're going to tell you that it's unprecedented. Well, it's not true. It happened in 1800 and it happened in 1824.
Wow.
Where the House of Representatives. This is where the Democrats have a problem. And this is what I talk about in the article. The rules under the Constitution as about the House electing the president, by the way, the Senate elects the vice president under the old rules. Each delegation, regardless of size, has 1 vote. So we have 50 states represented. There are a maximum of 50 votes. A candidate who wins 26 of those 50 votes is the next president of the United States. Here's the problems for the Democrats. The Republicans control 26 delegations in the House.
Wow.
And the Democrats only control 20, which leaves 4 undecided or split. If the Democrats got all 20 plus the 4, it doesn't total to 26. So right now, the president has 26 delegations, which under the court and under the law of the land, he would become president if they all voted, all 26. This is what the Democrats do not want to have happen, because what happens is that the new sitting Congress are the ones that votes. And the new sitting Congress, it looks to me as if the plurality of the Democrats will be less than 10. So we could see some of the 4 split delegations actually change, because we still have 17 House seats undecided.
So let me ask you this question.
Sure.
What happens? They've got until, is it December? What is it? December 15th or something like that?
Yeah. Yes. I think it was December 6th or 9th, but I don't recall the date. But they in December the electors have to declare who they're for, and then that is submitted to the Speaker of the House. However, if there's litigation and it goes to the Supreme Court, that date may be delayed.
Right. So right now there's only seven states, or at least last night, that have actually not conceded, but have actually sent in they're done, right? Am I right or wrong? Okay.
That's
So
about,
that means how many other ones are not the count?
I can't believe, Kathryn, I cannot believe that we're still counting ballots in Arizona and other states. How are we? The election was November the 3rd, and they're
Right.
telling us they're still counting votes. How is it? Here's the rhetorical question, Kathryn. How is it that the red states finished the first night and the blue states still haven't figured out how to count?
Because they are so messed up with and the software, you know about the software, right?
Yes.
This is
yes.
a joke. You know, a lot of that you can change the votes. They proved that you can change the votes in the software. So now Barr has approved the recount, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So they can recount till when? Till the 15th or what? I mean, these federal lawsuits are out there now. So, or the lawsuits are out there, right?
Right. So the procedure is that the election commission says they've counted all the ballots and these are the results. Then generally speaking, but not always, but generally speaking, the Secretary of State for that particular state then certifies the election. Then the legislature votes to appoint the electors who then communicate by conference call in late December who their votes.
The electoral votes, right? The electoral votes, right?
Yeah, electoral college. But if they don't come out with a winner of 270, then it goes to the House. And under the rules in the House, they vote and they vote and they vote till they get somebody with 226 votes.
But it's the new Congress, not the
Yes.
old Congress.
That's correct. Right.
When are the Democrats going to finally figure that one out?
I don't know. I mean, it's really a strange situation, you know. And I went back and looked at the 1800 and 1824, and in 1824, John Quincy Adams actually did not win the popular vote. And when they voted, the electors didn't have enough, so that it went to the Congress, the House, to decide the election. And so it is with, we have precedent in the country. It has happened before. It's been a long time since it's happened. But I think that the important issue, Kathryn, is what are we going to do, regardless of the outcome of this election? What are we going to do to protect our elections in the future? Because I believe that a lot of Americans are going to say, they're not going to say that necessarily the election was stolen from Donald Trump, although many will, myself included. But the greater concern, I think, for a lot of Americans is what happened and how do we prevent that manipulation of the voting process, whether it's social media, whether it's the software programs. What do we do? I mean, and the idea that you have to have a photo ID to get into the Democratic Convention. You have to have a photo ID to buy alcohol and tobacco. You have to have a photo ID to get on an airplane to go somewhere. Oh, but you don't need a photo ID when you're going to vote?
And see, in the state of Ohio, a lot of states require it. Ohio requires it. You can't vote without registering the right way and doing it. I think it should be every single state has to be that. Because, you know, they found a lot of dead people in these recounts.
Yes.
And the other thing is, which is really funny to me, is that the seniors that voted that are over 90, which I think is hilariously funny.
Or over 100.
Over 100, right,
yeah.
is unfortunately, they can't believe it. There's never been a percentage that high. Now they're going into first, second, third stage, and they're looking at everything, which they should be, right?
Sure, but they should have done that when the ballots came in. And the idea that 500,000 mail-in ballots came in, and all 500,000 in Pennsylvania were for Joe Biden only.
Yeah, that's weird. That's
doesn't,
very strange. Isn't Pennsylvania's isn't Pennsylvania's governor a Republican?
yes, yes,
Okay, so the legislature is actually more Republican than Democrat.
yes, yes.
So what happened?
It's amazing. It's like Donald Trump said, he went to bed in the lead and he woke up that Biden had more votes than he did. And he didn't understand why he does. I think he does now. He didn't understand at the time why Pennsylvania was stopping counting votes when other states were counting. And the answer to the president's question has been answered. The Democrats needed to know in Pennsylvania how many ballots they had to bring in favor of Joe Biden in order to swing the vote for him.
And for that, and on that note, we need to take a break, and
Sure.
we'll be right back. Give your website and where people can see all of your commentaries, buy your books, do whatever.
danperkins.guru, and on there is a link to Songs and Stories for Soldiers.
And on that note, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with Dan Perkins. We'll be right back. We are back with a very thrilling commentator. I really mean that. And actually a tremendous author. And that's how we met originally. And I couldn't put his books down. I'm still waiting for the rest of them, but we're going to do that, right? I know that.
Yes, ma'am.
So the next, we're talking about the election and his commentary. Don't back the truck into the White House now. Do you think people are going to be surprised if it goes for President Trump? Are they going to be shocked? Are they going to go into denial and crying on the air and everything like they did before in 2016? What do you think is going to happen, Dan?
That's a good question. I've asked that myself many times this week in interviews. What do you think will happen if the Supreme Court does what I think they should do? It disallow all of the votes that were done illegally and not in compliance with the Constitution.
So that would be a real recount for every state?
No, if you have examples in the Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Pennsylvania, where there's been abuse, then those, and Arizona, those are the ones that would be subject to a re-look at the ballots and following the state constitutions and the state laws. Well, you know, let me answer your question with, if in the 4 years that Donald Trump was president, the mainstream media spent 93% of its time writing negative stories. If the court reverses the election and Donald Trump continues as president, they've only got 7% more paper that they can use to destroy his reputation, so they can't do anything. So I think you will see violence in the streets. However, this time, I suspect that if Donald Trump is reelected and we have violence in the streets, there's going to be an enormous amount of pressure on the states for the federal government to step in and put it down. I think that one of the side effects, in my opinion, Kathryn, is to look who's being talked about for various cabinet positions in Joe Biden's cabinet. It's amazing to me. I mean, you say to yourself, what are they thinking? You're Democrats. You don't have a majority in the Senate, but we're going to take out Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and take them out of their Senate positions and leave it to chance. By the way, the state of Massachusetts allows the governor to appoint the replacement. It so happens that the state of Massachusetts governor is a Republican.
That's awesome. That would be absolutely awesome. Then it would be a lame duck presidency, let's face it, don't you think?
Yeah, I think given where we are in the Senate and in the House, again, the forecasters got it terribly, terribly wrong about the outcome of the election. Nobody that I looked at and followed during the campaign, there was nobody said that the Democrats would gain ground in the House, gain ground. I mean, I look at it right now. If we just stop where we are, it's 208 to 218 or 19 in the House.
Uh-huh.
Nancy Pelosi is going to have a hard time, I believe, getting reelected as Speaker of the House.
I don't think she will be, because you've got the far left, and then you've got, did you see I have to tell you, did you see the article from one of the new Republican women? She's starting a new organization. Instead of going like the AOCs went, they're doing the exact opposite.
Right.
We do not want to, we're going to clean this up, girls. They decided. Right. There's so many women, I can't believe it.
I think it's terrific, because for the longest time, see, I believe that what we're beginning to see already, I wrote a previous commentary, you may remember, that I believe that this election will destroy the Democratic Party.
I do too.
And so you're already seeing, I mean, if you think about it, what Joe Biden or his handlers are suggesting, that Susan Rice should be the Secretary of State. This is a woman who lied on television 5 times to the American people, and she should be the one she should be Secretary of State, because she'll bring, and the idea that was floated, which Rice has responded to, that Hillary Clinton should be the ambassador to the UN. And
oh my God, please, God help us.
And the CNN commentators are saying, but it will bring, listen to this, Kathryn, by making Hillary Clinton the UN ambassador, it'll bring credibility to the United Nations.
Really?
By making her the UN ambassador. And that she will, her relationships with foreign powers would restore the true leadership of the United States on a global basis. I mean, it's just,
it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
The woman who is being talked about for housing and urban development is an avowed communist, and supported the leader of the U.S. Communist Party. I mean, so that Bernie's going to be Secretary of Labor.
Oh, crap.
Bernie Sanders wants to be secretary. I mean, it's amazing. Elizabeth Warren as Secretary of the Treasury, and Bernie Sanders as Secretary of Labor.
I just want to ask you a couple of questions, because you're a registered financial advisor. What happens if Biden gets in? What will happen? I mean, I've seen the stock market has stayed up pretty high this week, but what happens if he starts putting the stuff in that he wants to put in, and everything that Trump did, he's going to kill? Do you think people are going to stand for that? Do you want to pay more taxes? I don't.
Well, but you got to understand that Wall Street was like 95% in favor of Joe Biden.
Why?
Because they're Democrats.
That's why. And they're also elitist. Is that correct?
Oh, no question. No question.
Okay. So today, well, you know, there's going to be rallies until until this whole thing is over with, because Trump's doing that.
Well, I did a commentary right after the election, and I said it was the saddest day of my life, because I saw the American dream on the verge of being destroyed,
right,
and by these people who want to throw out 275 years of history of this nation and reconstitute it in a totally different mold. I feel sorry for the families of people who are going to be killed by the illegals coming across the border. I feel sorry for the people who can't get health care because we've run out of money, because we're giving everybody who comes across the border free health care.
Right.
It's amazing to me the degradation of our country in such a short period of time.
So what is, because we have to end the show now, and I want to invite you back next week and have you on every week until it's right with you, until this is all over with, because I'm putting out specials and you're the special. How about that?
Thank you.
And we need that. We really need people that are mature. Seriously.
Have
Go ahead.
cogent thoughts too would be helpful.
Yes, yes. So let's talk about what your answer is, or what you think we should be doing as American citizens right now.
We should be talking to our state legislatures. Forget about Congress. We should be talking to our state legislators. If we're in one of those states where there have been voting rights abuse, about requiring the election commission to conform to the laws in the state that we live in. And that's what we should, and we should be pressuring. If we live in a state that's done it the right way, we should be talking to our friends and neighbors in other states to try and get them involved. The way we get things changed is we have to go through the legislature. Congress, it can't pass national voting because the Constitution is specific. It's a state issue, not a federal issue. And we have to start a movement that says we're going to fix this problem. I mean, how is it this country this old is still can't figure out how to count votes? And why is it that somebody who's sitting in a polling place and sees that a person is dead and the ballot comes in signed by a dead person, how are they not saying this is not right? We should throw this sucker out.
Right. I want to thank you for joining us today, Dan. And if you'd give your website and where your books can be purchased, that would be great. And where your commentaries are.
The books are available at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and all the usual places. All of the other stuff is at danperkins.guru, which has a link to Songs and Stories for Soldiers. By the way, we just signed a deal that we're going to be on 165 stations with our Veterans Tip of the Day.
Oh, that's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And you're on all my stations too, with those wonderful commentators and thoughts of the day for veterans.
Yep.
I just want to tell you that. And I'm going to give you some news now. I contacted all my television stations, and we're going to be doing a whole with your books and other authors, children's books. But there's an opportunity for you to do a thing for History for Children on Simul TV's new historic stations for children. How about that?
Absolutely, love to do that. Thank you.
And I talked to Stephen Turner last night. He said yes, so that's good. So Thank you so much for joining me today, Dan. It's always a pleasure. Let's do this next week again.
Thank you for allowing me to join you.
Okay, and thank you. And don't forget to go to our websites at KathrynRaakersWorld.com, Let'sJustTalkRadio.com. We'll see you next time on Kathryn Raaker's World.